figured it's probably time we park the M until we get a few parts in the mail, get this thing 100% dialed in. That PCV thing on the valve cover broke again. JB Well is not doing me any favors these days. So she is taking the garage spot for a while, and we are taking the S2K to the shop for some work. Out of the two rear-wheel drive cars that we own, which one do you guys prefer? The M or the S2K? Drop a comment below. All right, my friends, we made it to the shop. Today is going to be a detailing type of day. I haven't done a nice cut and buff on a car in a while. Last one I did was the M3. That was probably like 6 to 8 months ago. I need to do it on Bobby's car as well. Her car is not all that bad because it's pretty much brand new. But the paint on the S2K is pretty bad. It looks good if you're just looking at it from afar. But as soon as you grab any sort of light, you can see all of the defects in the paint. I don't know how good this paint is gonna look. There's quite a few areas that are damaged, whether that be deep scratches or areas that are faded all the way through. For example, up here, faded pretty bad, and I'm not sure if that's gonna clean up. Hopefully you guys can see that fine. So we have stuff like that. I think this bumper was, of course, sprayed. It is an AP2 bumper. Whoever sprayed it didn't do the best job, so I might actually end up repainting it because right up top does not look good whatsoever. It looks like it just peeled off and someone did some janky repair job there. Got some cracks going on there. So the bumper, I'm really tempted to respray. This fender as well bugs the daylights out of me. I'm sure you guys remember when I first got this car, this thing was on the freaking ground, and it still is. It's still really low, but it's not nearly as low as what it was. And it looks like this fender got buckled at one point, either from hitting the tire or the wheel, or whenever they rolled the fenders, they kind of messed that fender lip up. And I'm not sure how good I can get that to look. I'm not very good at body work. I'm really tempted to repair that fender. I really want to repair the bumper, but at the same time, I really dislike paint work just because I'm not set up for it very well. I'm not very good. I'm not very experienced. The last few things I've done have turned out good. I did the bumper, the rear bumper on the M3. That turned out pretty good. And then I did the truck as well, like the whole bed on the truck. And that turned out really good, but it's just so much work that I don't know if I want to dive into it. Regardless, we're not going to get into that today. What I want to start with today is buffing and polishing the paint on this car. We're not going to get too far because it's already pretty late in the day. We're going to start off with a nice wash, get the car clayed, do a quick decontamination with some IPA, and we can start on, like, say, a fender or a hood and see how good this paint is going to look. We got the car all cleaned up. Let's move on to the clay. I no longer use a traditional clay bar. I really prefer this Mother's Speed Clay. This thing works wonders, fits very nicely and well in your hand, and just makes life a whole lot easier. For the clay lube, I'm just gonna use the foam cannon. I know it's not ideal, but it's all I got right now. So let's get this whole thing clayed. It's gonna take a while, but it's well worth it. Then we can pull it in the shop, wipe down, let's say, a fender, and see what we can do. So over the years, I've accumulated quite a few different things, tried a few different products out, have a few different buffers and polishers. This here is the main stuff I have come to like the most. I have this 6-inch Porter cable DA, this super tiny, like a 1.5 or 2-inch DA. I went ahead and bought a 3M Perfect It kit. So it came with these 3 compounds and a few pads. These pads are for a rotary, which I have over there. I don't think I'm gonna need to bust out the rotary on this paint. I guess we'll see. If it's bad enough, we might have to, but I don't think we will. And then a few Hex Logic pads as well. So these Hex Logic will be for that rotary. And then I have a ton of 2-inch pads in there for the mini buffer. Let's get started on the driver's side fender. I'm gonna go ahead, wipe the whole thing down with IPA, which I have here in this squirt bottle. Tape off a section and just go through, see how deep we need to go actually on this paint. And I don't know if this fender's been resprayed or not. It kind of looks like it has, just because it looks like there's a little bit more orange peel in the driver's fender versus the rest of the car. I could be wrong, but to me, it does look like it. So aftermarket paint and OEM paint, I found always polishes out different. There was a Subaru that I did once. It took forever to get all of the micro swirls out of the factory clear, but a few of the panels that I resprayed, the clear on it polished out perfect. So I guess we'll see on this car. I've never done a Honda before. I'm not sure how hard or soft the OEM clear coat is, but yeah, let's just get started. The whole car is pretty rough. Let's bust out a section of the fender and see the difference that we can make. Okay, so we're a few passes in with the first step. The first step that we're using is the orange Hexlogic pad, which is a medium cutting pad, 36060 3M white compound, which is considered step one of their perfected kit. We definitely need to go a little bit deeper, and this first step is not going to be clear whatsoever. This first step, we're just trying to get out as many of the scratches, the deep scratches as possible. So here's the before. Lots and tons of scratches, and here is where we're at. So as you can see, it's not clear at all. There's still a lot of light reflecting off of the paint, which that will be taken care of later on, but there's still some fairly deep scratches that we got to take care of, and there's still some compound on there as well. Definitely a good start. Let's keep going. I'm gonna see how far we're gonna have to go, how many passes we're gonna have to do on this fender, but I guess it doesn't really matter because this is definitely aftermarket paint on this fender, so that is kind of irrelevant to the rest of the car. But let's get this whole front section knocked out, see how good it looks. All of the steps that we have to do, we can just run through and start doing this whole entire car. I'm actually pretty excited to do this car because this paint is pretty bad, and because this car is so freaking tiny that it shouldn't take us a super long time. I usually do spend like 2 or 3 days on every single detail that I do, but I hope this one we can get it like completed. I'll get the whole car buffed and polished, minus the stuff that we might repaint. I'm still undecided. And ceramic coated. If we could do all that in 2 days, I would be pretty freaking stoked. All right, you guys ready for this? Probably 25, 30 minutes later on just the front section of the fender. We're all finished up. It looks really, really good. It could be better, but this car is so old. This is a 01. So I'm really excited to see how the rest of the car is gonna turn out after doing the fender. Check this out. She looks freaking mint. Let's get some light on it. Let me show you a little before and after, all right? Here's the before. So many freaking scratches in it. And here's an after. There are some rock chips that have been touched up, so we can't do much about that. Like that little guy right there, that's a rock chip that has been touched up. But I am very, very pleased with how that came out. It looks immaculate. I would say that's like a 9.5 out of 10. If we could get the whole car to look like this, I will poop myself. But the problem is that faded paint and that fender over there and that bummy ass bumper. I love polishing paint. It's one of those things where it's so time consuming and it's a lot of work, but it's so rewarding. It's not like putting a turbo kit on. I mean, I guess it's fairly rewarding too. That's not a good example. What's a good example? It's not like putting wheels on a car. Of course, wheels make a huge difference on a car, but it's no work, it's no effort to put wheels on a car. It's very easy. You just bolt them on and then you're done. You're like, okay, cool. New wheels. looks sick. Polishing paint, I'll probably spend 20 to 30 hours on this entire car, I would think. Maybe more, maybe less. And just polishing alone. Way more if we're gonna respray. Because it takes so much time, it's so rewarding at the end. Seeing the end result, going over it, ceramic coating it at the very end, adding that extra little bit of shine, and just locking in all of the perfect paint that we just created. It's it's just amazing. That's the best way to say it. Real quick, let me run through exactly what we're doing, the pads and compounds. And I will go ahead and link all this stuff down below if you guys want to polish your own car. And I'm not the best. I'm never gonna say I'm the best. I have a lot to learn, but I feel like I have a rough idea of what I'm doing. So here's what we got. The 3M36060 compound with an orange hex logic pad. That is the first step. That is definitely the most time consuming because we're getting all of the major scratches out with this right here. Secondly, will be 06094 with a white hex logic pad. This is kind of refining all those scratches, getting a little bit more polish and shine out of it. And last but not least is the blue 06068 with the black hex logic pad. And what that pad is doing in this compound is pretty much taking all of the micro scratches that we installed from these two steps. This takes out the deep scratches, this refines those scratches, and then this refines those scratches. And then you end up with that. Look at the difference from the hood to the fender. It's not even real life. That's immaculate. It's amazing. Quick change of plans. I know this is a little strange, but I'm actually gonna do the hood now. And the reason for it is because I'm gonna be constantly leaning over the fender, and I don't wanna completely finish that fender up, install a few scratches by leaning over it, and then have to redo the fender. So just to save a little bit of time, let's go knock out the hood, and then we can knock out the rest of the fender. We just finished up the hood. Definitely all original paint. There's some fading in some areas, but overall, it turned out really, really nice. I can appreciate it. Of course, there's gonna be some defects, but I would say she's like a 5-footer. She ain't no 5-incher, that's for sure. I'm gonna continue on with the driver's side. So we do have to pull off that side marker still. And then as far as the mirror goes, I think I'm gonna buff the mirror first, and then we can pull the mirror off just so we can get all behind the mirror, so it's perfect. And then door handles are never fun. I found the best way to do it is just grab a rag and kind of use your finger up in there, because that is not good looking whatsoever. I think overall this thing is gonna turn out really, really nice. Well, my friends, my OCD is getting the best of me. Like I mentioned earlier, this is not original paint on this fender, and there is all sorts of dirt in this thing. Let's see if I can show it on camera. Yeah, you can see there, 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 there. Bow, bow, bew, 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 bew. Do, do. Meow. There's a lot, but it's shiny. So what I'm gonna do, instead of just leaving it, which is really tempting, I'm gonna grab some 2000 grit on a stick sand out the dirt pieces. I'll show you guys exactly what I do, and it should make everything look a lot better, a lot more flat. It is on the bottom side of the fender, so it's not a big deal, but we're already here, and we might as well make it better if we can. So it should only add like 10-15 minutes max to this process. I just hope the whole car wasn't sprayed and there's dirt on the whole car. But I already know it's not the case because the hood was definitely OEM paint. So what we have here is a spray bottle with just water and a touch, just a splash of Dawn dish soap, and then our 2000 grit on a paint mixing stick cut down to the width of the sandpaper. So I'm just gonna go over it, sand in like a diagonal pattern on all of the dirt pieces. And then this should buff right out with just that pad there, that pad and compound. Here is the final and finished product of the whole driver's side. It looks so damn good. When you polish the paint, it kind of reveals how crusty the rest of the car is. Look at the windows. They're so water spotted. I did go ahead, pull off that top molding for the window. It's also very, very, very crusty, but I think we can probably save it. I'm trying not to go too crazy with this whole detail, but it's really hard to not, because I know how nice this car could be. So I'm trying to do like a 90%, but I feel like I'm still doing 100%. 100% would be pulling the window out and buffing it, which I might do if it's easy. It probably is easy, so I'll probably do it. Just because they're so crusty, and it'd be nice to get the whole thing perfectly clean. But yeah, overall, I could not be happier with how this paint is coming out. We have a ways to go, which we should be able to get this thing finished up tomorrow, because today we did hood and the whole driver's side. We're not doing the front bumper or that fender, I guess, because we might as well fix them and paint them. So tomorrow we have passenger side and the rear end, which if we get an earlier start tomorrow, we should be able to get that knocked out. And then hopefully it's sunny enough tomorrow to pull it outside, do a quick look at it, make sure we don't have any haziness, swirls, scratches that we missed, and then maybe move on to ceramic coat if we have time. That'd be sick. Today it took us about 10 hours to do what we just did. There's a little before on the rear bumper, and there is an after. Sheesh. Each and every product that we use today, I'll link it down below. Once again, guys, I'm not a professional detailer. I'm not a professional buffer. I'm just some dude doing it in his garage. So I'm sure there's better ways to go about it. I'm sure there's better products you can use. This is just what I like. This is what I found works best for me. I'm sure I'll find an easier, faster, and better way in the future. But for now, this is working amazing. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Peace out, my friends. I'll see you guys tomorrow.